Even though you may get frustrated, even though you feel like you may not know enough to do what you need to do, just start, enjoy it, have fun with it. Don't give up, because the more you learn, the more you're going to realize you don't know. So, which is kind of an interesting thing.
So yeah, welcome to my channel. In this episode, definitely we'll be discussing about your Android development journey and how did you get into this. But more specifically, we'll see how to become a successful freelance Android developer. Don is a software developer with over 20 years of experience in building some of the most popular brands in the industry. He is the founder of Caster.io, which is a software development video training company. He is also the co-host of Fragmented Podcast, where they basically talk about building good software and becoming better software developers. They have already released around 200 plus episodes on that podcast. Don has also created Gifstagram. It is the easiest way to turn a GIF into an Instagram related compatible video for free. You can also find some of his work in Google Play App Store. The first one being Groupon. This is basically an app which helps you to get promo codes and discounts whenever you buy something from your nearby shop. So this app has around 50 million plus installs from Google Play Store alone. The second one being Calorie Counter, which is of MyFitnessPal. MyFitnessPal is the world's most popular health and fitness app. And this application as well has 50 million plus installs from Google Play Store. He's also worked on a couple of other projects like The Point, which is the all-in-one omni-commerce payment platform. Like the list of your achievements and is endless. So starting out with a very fundamental question, like how did you come across Android development and what made you think that okay, this is something you're really interested in?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I ran into Android development on accident in 2008. And I was working as a web software engineer at a consulting company. And I was in between projects, and the new Android phone had just come out. And so I got my hands on one, and I wanted to start playing with it. And so I created a couple of soundboard based applications, and instantly those apps took off on the what's known as the Android market at the time. I had no intention of becoming a Android developer at the time. It was just something I was doing for fun. However, immediately within a couple of months, a few of my very rudimentary applications had over 5 million installs. This is back when the Android market had around 1,000 apps. That was about it.
Oh,
So at that time, um, some of my work was being noticed by other companies, and they reached out to me through my developer page on the Android market, asking if I would create apps for them. Very shortly after, I started creating a couple of apps for a couple of clients on the side and just doing some open source work. And I committed to a open source project known as RoboJuice. And the committer of that, the lead maintainer of that project, was actually one of the original folks at Groupon. And he needed some help, and he reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'm looking for some help." And that kind of kicked off my Android full-time career as a consultant, also as a freelancer in the Android world. Um, but that was kind of the impetus to doing everything that I did inside of Android. And I ended up really enjoying it simply because it was something that was fun, because it was new, and you could create something that everybody throughout the world could use and would enjoy in the palm of their hands.
yeah, so you're basically into the Android development journeys ever since Android's launched its first application.
Yes, correct.
So, integral part of someone who is starting out his freelancing journey is building his profile on freelancing platforms. So, can you give some tips about how to build a great Android development profile?
Yeah, one of the best things I can recommend folks doing to build an Android profile is actually get involved in open source as much as you can. Now, open source doesn't pay you per se, but what it does is it gets your name out there. And when your name is out there, what that does is opens the doors of opportunity for you. And this is exactly what I did early on before Android even. I found an open source project that I might want to use, and I'd find maybe it was missing some documentation. And that's what I would provide. I would just provide a pull request to help fix documentation, or I would reach out to the maintainer and ask if there's anything I could help with. Now, Nowadays, you can just go find a bug and try to fix a bug and submit a pull request that way. But that's the best way you're going to get some notoriety out there is by participating in some type of open source project. Now, secondly, of course, you're going to want to be on some type of so you want some clients. So you could go to sites like Upwork, or you could go to any of the number of other sites out there. Those are going to be good to get your foot in the door, just so you have some experience working with a client, managing the process of having a client. And you wanted to kind of do this, as I call it, like the stair-step approach to consulting, meaning that you want to start small. Maybe you have a full-time job already, but your goal is to become a consultant. But first, you need some experience and under your belt. So to do that, you want to start working on the side. And that's what I did. You can use the sites like Upwork and so forth. A lot of the times, you have to make sure that you're providing the correct amount of value, because a lot of the time, these sites are a race to the bottom. So you're going to find that people are just trying to undercut you on price. And you also have to learn how to stand up for your actual rates and how much you're charging, because sometimes you're going to see a client that will want you to rebuild an Instagram clone for $500 US, and that's just not even a reasonable consideration whatsoever. So
Yeah.
those sites are very valuable. But the main thing is you just kind of want to get out there, open source being one way to kind of get your face out there. Upwork and those other sites are a good way to start managing the clients. And then, of course, there's additional ways such as blogging. I recommend everybody write a blog, even if it's something that you've already seen written, even by maybe you've seen me write about something. You can write it in your own words and actually put it out there. Now, someone may pick that up and see it and learn from that, simply because you wrote it in a way that they understand it better than I wrote it or somebody else wrote it. And then from there, you can go to, creating your own videos. You can put them on YouTube. You could do a whole number of things. And ultimately, one of the things I recommend everybody strive for is to actually get in front of the public and speak. And, with a pandemic right now, that's kind of difficult. But if you're able to get into a small user group or even to a conference and just start speaking in front of people, doors of opportunity are going to fly open faster than you could ever imagine, because people see you as an expert when you're standing on stage and you're presenting information to them and helping educate them. So there's a bunch of ways to do it, but the main way out there to do it is just kind of get in front of people any way possible.
So the crux of the point which you mentioned is try getting out and tell people that, okay, you are doing this thing, you know this thing, write about it, create content about it, and publicize yourself and bring yourself in front of the market.
Correct.
Okay, so let's say if a person has built his profile on this freelancing platform, Upwork or Freelancer or Fiverr, but it's very difficult to get your first client on this platform because there's a lot of competition as well. And when you don't have a single project on your profile, so how to get your first client and get the ball rolling in the initial stage?
It's a good question. Everything, when you are a consultant and you want to be a full-time consultant or a full-time freelancer, you have to realize that you're also a salesperson as well. So you have to make sure that your product, which is you, looks as good as possible to whoever's looking at you. So if someone were to look at your profile and I'm just going to use my name, they look at Donn's profile and they don't see that I have any experience anywhere, I'm not showing any apps that I've previously built, of course, they're probably not going to want to hire me, versus somebody else who has a nice profile and existing projects. So this kind of gets to the point of like, what do you do when you start from zero, which we all do. I started from zero too. And at that point, what I decided to do was go out and actually build a couple of apps myself. Now, this could be a to-do based application. It could be maybe a little recipe application, and you hit a free recipe API and you show images. You can use all of these things that you've built and you start populating your profile saying, here's a project I built. And you basically are building your online portfolio. So when someone looks at your actual page, they say, oh, well, it looks like Donn knows how to do X. It looks like he does Y. Oh, okay. I've seen this example. Okay, that's a great looking app. This is another screenshots of some more apps he's done. And these could have been apps that I have just done for myself just to build my portfolio, because I don't have any existing clients to show for that. But I want to show my prospective clients that, hey, I do know what I'm doing. Here's some proof of my work. And furthermore, if you are contributing to open source projects, clients do view that and see that as valuable. Now, not every client's going to see that as valuable because they don't really know what open source is. But a lot of technical clients will know, because they'll be able to recognize, oh, looks like this person's also contributing to these 5 open source projects. And if you mention that, all of that are selling points on your profile. which then ups your chances of someone actually selecting you and talking to you more and more. So at the end of the day, it's all really about sales and marketing and presentation. And you just have to make yourself look as good as you can. And if you don't have any experience, you kind of have to go make your own experience and then showcase what you can do.
Next doubt, which many beginners have, is how to price your freelancing work, because many freelancers tend to undervalue themselves in the beginning days. So, how to go about it?
This is when you're starting out, this can be a difficult problem because you want to get the experience. So there's two ways you can go about this. You could charge your full amount, possibly not get the client or the experience, or you can charge a lesser amount and get the experience. But eventually, what you want to do is make sure that you're charging the correct amount. That is the number one problem that most people have, is just not charging enough. So what I have done in the past is I started out and just getting some experience with a couple of small clients by not charging enough just to get my experience level up. And as soon as I had some experience and on my, inside of my resume, then at that point in time, I was able to charge more. However, if you're going to start, that was only when I was doing this in a part-time fashion. So my full-time income was still covered by my job, and the part-time income was just kind of extra money that was coming in, and I was helping build my resume and my portfolio. But if you're going to go do this full time, then you need to take into consideration that you're charging enough. Most people don't charge enough. They'll take their yearly salary and they'll divide it by 2,080, and that will give you how much you make per hour according to your yearly salary. Now, unfortunately, that's not the exact amount you make. Most countries, US included, you get extra benefits such as paid time off and health benefits and 401k or retirement. Depends on the company and country, but you actually get more. So you're getting paid substantially more.
Can you suggest of some resources from where the beginners or who are just starting out Android development they can learn to code?
Yeah, it depends on what you depends on really what you want to do in regards to coding. There's so many different ways you can go. It depends on the type of app you want to do, but 9-hour course on Kotlin on the YouTube channel. That'll be out. It's up, I'd say 1/3 of it's out right now, and the rest of it should be out in the next couple of weeks, and then you can watch the whole thing end to end for free. From there, there's a couple of other resources that you can go to. Of course, Google has of great courses out there on Android, as well on YouTube is Coding and Flow. Florian from Coding and Flow has a lot of good content out there as well. And then, of course, you have all the other learning platforms too, such as Pluralsight and so forth and stuff like that.
Which language do you think a beginner should start with?
If you're going to start and you've never done it before, you're going to need to know Java, because at some level, there's going to be some Java code somewhere inside of your Android application. Or what usually is going to happen is you're going to run into an example online that's written in Java. So you'll need to know how to read Java and possibly even debug it.
Okay, so we are about to conclude the podcast. Is there any one last bonus tip which you would like to give to someone who is just about to start his development journey?
Yeah, don't give up. I wrote a blog post called Learning to Program Sucks. So you can just Google that if you want to read it. But the gist of it is that when I started the program, I didn't know anybody who knew it. And when I started, I was in my 20s already. I had never touched a computer, and it was very frustrating. And at times, I didn't know how to fix my computer. I would get, maybe Java would stop working, or maybe the IDE would stop working, and maybe I just had to reboot it. I don't know. But back then, I had no guidance whatsoever, and it was very, very frustrating. And so what I ended up having to do was just reformat my computer over and over and over and over. I probably did this 50, 60 times or more. And there's many times I wanted to give up, but the one thing is I'm glad that I didn't. So even though you may get frustrated, even though you feel like you may not know enough to do what you need to do, just start, enjoy it, have fun with it. Don't give up, because the more you learn, the more you're going to realize you don't know. So, which is kind of an interesting thing, but the goal is to have fun with it, and you're going to have a great career as long as you just don't give up, keep trying, and you'll do good.
Okay, so that was all for today's podcast. I will provide the links for Donn's social media handles, website, and YouTube channel as well in the description below. Do check them out, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. I personally learned a lot through this conversation, and I really hope the viewers will also get a lot of insight from this interaction and from this podcast. Thank you for joining in, Donn. It was really a pleasure to interact with you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, Ricky. I appreciate it. Thanks again.